Recording in progress.
Everyone's in here. Avery can sit there. Great. So I'll let you guys take it away and I'll jump in on the parts that. Right. Okay. Back to that.
Well, welcome to our food access working group meeting for May the 13th, 2025. I am Regina Polite, and we would like to go around the room and just you can introduce yourself as well. So have at it. All
right. I'm Michelle Udenia. Do I give an introduction? Okay. I'm one of the co-leads of the Food Access Working Group for Homegrown Hillsborough.
RJ DePaulis, I believe I'm serving as the treasurer for the group as the grants come along.
I'm Eileen Hernandez, and I am serving as a secretary for the Food Access Group.
Good. And we welcome all of those who are online. Next on the agenda would be relation policy, but we'll skip that. So next on the agenda will be deliverables and old business. A, discussion, new development, assignment, reading, other learning outcomes, important news since last meeting. Anyone have anything?
Well, I did send out a article. I don't know if you guys read that. It was just like an example of what I was thinking as far as posting, but we can all, I guess, talk about that later on, just as far as different accessibilities. I don't know how I'm saying that right, for food access and pop-ups, like, can't think of the word right now, but I did send an article to, I believe, Michelle and Regina, just to kind of get an idea to see if this is something that we want to kind of deliver, or are we looking at other options for education and posting things on the site.
And this is on the Homegrown mobile app?
Yeah, I sent it through the messaging system. Remember, I was like, well, what do you think of this article? Is this something? I didn't send it to everyone, just to the chairs to see, is this maybe, are these the kind of articles that you guys are considering for posting? That makes sense.
Anyone else have anything?
Well, I was going to share one of the, I didn't post it yet, but I would like to share it with everyone. It's just a video that I saw on YouTube about increasing food access with a program that has to do with, I think it's called food recovery. So any perishables that are maybe certain places are, maybe restaurants or certain areas are planning to dispose of to reduce food waste and to increase food access to certain neighborhoods, to deliver them to either local daycares or health clinics or housing areas, communities. So I would like to share that with the team to see if that's something that you think that would be valuable to, as we go forward to looking at the mini grants and applications, if that's something you think would be a good direction for our group to head towards.
That was like an article.
It was a YouTube video that I saw. Yeah, I can share it on the mobile app too.
I think I should definitely post in the platform. Like, if you think it's like, well, if it's really not relevant, we'll tell you. But I think you should just go ahead and post like on stuff like, yeah, if you saw something that was relevant to food access, throw it on there. Like, if it's really, really like out of left field, we'll let you know and be like, yeah, maybe this isn't appropriate. But like, for the most part, most things are relevant. And if you want to write something like, I think this is relevant because whatever, like, check this out, or yeah, like, don't worry about, putting something wrong on the platform, like, especially if it's in like the working group like page. That's pretty, like, I think you guys are wise enough to know like what should be relevant. Like, maybe don't post something that's like, I don't know. I really think anything could really be relevant if it's relevant to food access, even if it's in another country or something. Like, it might be a model that you want to, look to for, advice or whatever. If it's relevant to food access, I think you can post it on the page. That's my.
Anyone else have anything to add to that? Okay, well, next BD, review platform posts since last meeting and post new information. Share something you saw on the platform that is relevant to the WG.
So it's their platform page, so, and they just posted this, great job. That's the event, so hopefully, look at you guys, so good, you're going. Monica posted this anti-hunger newsletter. I don't know if anyone checked it out. Click on it, and it'll take you to, and it kind of tells you, no, it's really small, but something to check out. Did anyone go through this at all?
For some reason, my feed looks different. Maybe I'm on the main homepage.
Yeah, so you want to make sure you look in the working group over here on the left. Food access working group, and that's where like the more specific stuff for this working group. And this is where you should mainly be posting if things relevant to the group. I mean, if it's something that could be relevant to the entire network, sure, but mostly like food access stuff should kind of live on this page.
Okay.
So there's that post, and then I posted about this lifestyle, medicine, and food as medicine. Hopefully come out in the wrong spot. And it's a course that you can utilize. It's free until September of this year. And it's, I think, like 5 hours or something like that. And otherwise it's usually, I think, like a couple $100 to talk about food as medicine. It's more for like providers. But if that's something you want to share with your network, I know you guys are like dietitians and working in health. That would be a great resource to check out. And then I think this other stuff was all older, so that's everything. Let's see, go down a little bit more. I didn't click in order, so
I think you have the food sovereign Will Shakabar. We have that one there on the part.
On the whole page.
On the whole page. Oh, okay.
Yeah, there was the think tank.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that was yeah, that happened on April 11th.
Oh, that's already finished. Okay.
Yeah, so we missed that. I went to that actually.
Oh, good.
Let's see, it's way down here. Yeah, it was way back. Here it was. Yeah, April 11th. Future Food Think Tank Spring Convening. You know, RJ was there. He was here.
Oh,
so
okay, cool.
it was at this facility, which was
nice.
Oh, okay. Cool.
How was that?
It was good. I think it was a mix of focus on like food and health and also food systems. I'm still very like new to the food system concept, so like half of the portion kind of went over my head as I was trying to focus in on it. But I think the benefit to it was having different people there involved, interested in knowing the benefit of, you know, food and health and food and medicine. There was even a concept that they discussed about food as medicine versus food as medicine. So it was good. You can kind of tell like towards the tail end, people were kind of clocking out. It was getting a little bit slower with the panel, but it was nice. I think the benefit of that, especially in similar to this group as well, is the collaboration between groups, and you see who's doing similar work and how you can collaborate. So just being present there, I think, is really good because you have people who are working on rural farms versus people who are part of like Florida Blue and larger corporations and how they can work with different projects. So I think it's helpful.
The next one, they were talking about maybe doing a virtual one over summer and then fall one more in person. So
I would like to attend one. Yeah,
okay,
that sounds
so
really interesting.
there's like I don't know where there's a way to sign up for like the newsletters. I'll see if I can get you on the.
And it's run by.
It's USF.
The USF.
So it's USF research and development research. I don't know what I was searching. But it's USF research, like sector.
And there was one also on the coalition where they had the flyer listed for the Master Gardener program. So that's a real interesting one because I'm part of that. And so are you, Elise. So, you know, we've been doing that class. I don't know if we'll finish. I hope we'll finish. And this is, you know, we're trying to become master gardeners. We're group B, a cohort B, a 1, 2. 1, they've had 26 graduates
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that are master gardeners that are taking over the city of Tampa to deal with, sustainability and,
The urban agriculture.
yeah, the urban
Okay.
agriculture specialist, yes, yeah. So if you guys are interested, the program is still open, so, if you want to chime in and learn something about, food, get in there, learn about gardening, how to develop a garden, community garden, and it's still open right now.
Is this through UF?
No, this is
Section.
through the Coalition of Community
Oh, okay,
Gardens in also IFAS.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Yes, and Monica is always there as well. It's IFAS and Homegrown and Coalition of Community Gardens. So it's all of them. So you can always join that. They're still, even though we're at our last, group right now. But like I said, the first group, there was 25 master gardens that got their certificate and they're ready to tackle, food insecurity, desert communities, and provide some gardens and just learn about gardening.
Okay.
I'd like to hear from more involved in that. I think some of the other working groups are doing it too, so that's
Oh,
awesome.
they are, yeah, D, I think D is one of them, yeah. Yeah, but they're doing really well. Yeah, that's a good program. Okay, so next, and welcome, Avery. Yeah.
Thank you, sorry I'm late.
So, Avery, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself since I just introduced you. We already went through the introduction, but everyone went around and just said who they were.
Hi, everyone. My name is Avery Rodriguez. I work in the health department as one of the senior health educators. I oversee the Healthy Communities and Florida Plan. It was formerly known as Healthy Florida. So I oversee different community projects from school health to food access for the Healthy Hillsborough Neighborhood Store Initiative, and I also help with outreach efforts, just raising awareness of the resources that I'll be here.
Can I ask you to like scoot? You're like just barely out of the thing. I know that I'm not. I love heights. Sorry. We just like those. It's not just like a. Like this is kind of as you can see, like our area. Like that's cool.
Oh, yeah.
That's good. Like
Yeah.
you can see there's a person. I'm connected to all these cords. So.
We're limited social.
Item 2, that is C, and then we would have a brief summary from RJ. I'm gonna go ahead and give it to summary.
Yeah, I can send out like some of the notes in the sessions I attended. So the collective action summit was an interesting experience. It was 3 days long. It was from like 12 to 5 on all 3 days virtual. I've never attended like a full-on virtual summit like that because they incorporated different like concepts. They had a platform where it was like almost like a social media platform beforehand where you can connect with people. They had a list of 8 sessions per hour, 4 sessions, and you can pick which one you want. So out of the 5, 6 sessions that I attended in total with the 3 days, there was like 25, 30 in total. So a lot of information that's out there. They're going to share the recordings. So if I get access to it and I have a way to like send it out, I'll send them out. It was interesting. There's some of the sessions I attended focused on, how to really leverage collective impact and working with different groups. The ones I leaned towards more were the like the case studies. So they used it in ways of like how collective impact affected literacy in schools or computer literacy in adults. Others were about leveraging health in certain spaces. So all, I think, helpful. A lot of the other concepts there were focusing on like how to make meetings more efficient or having schedules and agendas and practices that we can use. So things that I think it was helpful, especially for me being new to collective impact and how they use in other spaces. It's definitely open to people who are kind of ingrained in the concept already and are familiar with it. So I had to do a really quick refresher beforehand to get more familiar with collective impact. But it was a great experience, and I'm grateful for Homegrown Hillsborough helping me get involved with it. I think there was somebody else from Homegrown Hillsborough there too. Oh, okay, it was. I forget her name, but I recognized her picture. So Okay,
And I just, feels like whoever it was, we did nothing.
Gotcha.
So,
so she was in there, and she was the one. This is gonna be strange, but she was the one that met the Dalai Lama. On the
yeah.
perhaps
Mm-hmm.
perhaps she was at least in one of the sessions that I saw. So it was cool. I think the important thing was more so like all the examples of how it could work and how it's shared. I didn't know collective impact really focused on like the nonprofit space. I think a lot of nonprofits utilize this concept a little bit more than for profit, but there's a lot of good opportunities on how we can use it when it comes to food access and health. And it's also not just towards like food access and health. It's for everything, which is really interesting. It was good. It was definitely hard for, 12 to 5 for 3 days straight, trying to stay focused the entire time. Can be tough, but I got out what I thought was helpful.
Well, next on the agenda will be D, working group definition revisit. One, a group that collaborates to improve food access through increasing reliability, affordability, and culturally appropriate foods within our community.
Okay, let's revisit this.
How do you guys feel?
Is there a way, Savannah, for us to see what the other groups' definitions were?
For sure.
Yeah, that'll be
Share
interesting.
them. Oh, gosh. Oh my gosh, it's so tiny. Let me do it on my.
Your eyes are amazing.
No, like I can kind of guess where it is. Can I focus? Yeah. That's a little, not a lot out there. Okay, so. So. The lighting areas was this list here, so their priority areas were, I'm sorry, their definition. Oh yeah, working with food.
Can you
Zoom in a little bit?
That's it.
I know I can't make it bigger on the screen, but I might be able to
I can read it out loud. Working with food produce to overcome challenges to better meet local needs. 1A.
So that's their definition.
Yeah, read that again for me.
Working with food working with food producers to overcome challenges to better meet local needs.
I mean, pretty straightforward.
I like it.
Yeah,
It's snappy.
But I know, I feel like.
That's all.
Okay. Ours is a little more specific, which is not bad,
No.
because that's food
You have another
access is
one,
where you're
Savannah?
getting, you're talking to different community members, so it should be, I feel, a little bit more.
More detailed.
Right.
And theirs isn't a complete sentence. Does that not matter?
You're on recorded. You're recorded visually and audibly. They got that in 4K.
Back in grad school, where they were so strict about like how we wrote sentences. And so to read that, like, it sounds great, it just sounds like it needs like.
A little more
Proud of
detail.
us, like, I feel like we did, I mean, not to,
Brad.
no issues there.
We're being recorded, so just.
That's
I think ours is good, like when I was rereading it the other day, I think I like that it says it mentions reliability, affordability, and culturally appropriate foods. When I was brainstorming with Dawn at our last meeting, I didn't really think of how culturally appropriate would be an important part of this. But I think it really is, because something that maybe a cultural food to me that like I grew up with my dad's side of the family is Hispanic. So I grew up with eating a lot of Spanish food, but for other people, they may not like know of that kind of food. They maybe didn't grow up, they grew up or from somewhere else and ate something else. So I think it's really important because if we're going to be serving the community, we have to meet them where they're at. And that also includes discussing with them, meeting with them with what they care about too. Not just, like I can talk about the foods I have and try to help you gain access and
and find foods, but I also need to know what are the kind of foods they want. How can I help them access the foods that they want and encourage that as well? If that makes sense. So
Yeah, and then that was JR, input, the culturally appropriate food, which is good. Yeah, he did a good job. Yeah, thank you.
I was wondering if we can condense it even more just by removing a group that collaborates, and Avery's gonna get me on this one. In changing it to just improving food access through increasing reliability, affordability, and cultural appropriate foods.
We can,
Yeah, we can condense it.
consider a group that collaborates, improving food access through. But we were being more, who we are, right?
Which makes sense.
Yeah, you're
Because
identifying.
I think what sticks out to me is Monica's comment about like what's a snappy elevator pitch,
Right.
Right.
and adding like the extra word and like trying to condense it. Because I like the one that what group did you just share? Food? Sure. I like food production. It was like quick and simple, and plus we're going to specify what we do under the priority areas anyways too.
So
Help the network grow through cross-sector collaboration and enhance quality of life for Hillsborough County residents.
that's economic development.
What did you just say again?
Help the network grow through cross-sector collaboration and enhance quality of life for Hillsborough County residents.
That's a good, yeah.
Which working group
This is
Oh,
economic
no.
development.
So this is the definition. Is this also the same as our food vision? Or is that synonymous or no?
It's like not the like official vision, but like that's essentially, it's like a mission vision, but not, we're just calling it.
Okay, because we're under the still
Yes.
overall.
So we have all those, right? So it's more into the
What were
definition
you
of your.
thinking as far as
Okay.
bringing that together a little?
Now, I
bit
did
more?
have a question.
Oh, let me just
I had a
remove
little
that
bit
first.
more thought after our first meeting. And just because of the population that I work with, I feel like it, and let me know if this falls into food access, in my opinion, it does, but having not just access to those foods, but knowing how to prepare them. So having the skills like,
Right.
or learn, like being able to, I guess, I don't know if it's culinary skill or just like,
Food literacy.
yeah, food literacy, that's the word,
That
yes.
includes
Yeah.
like nutrition and.
Yeah, do you think that's important to include in the definition or not so much?
I think that's important because I think, and as Avery was talking, I would almost wanted to rescind my suggestion about culturally appropriate and changing it to familiar or familiarity, and in the sense of that it focuses on culturally appropriate foods, but also foods that are familiar to people, because how accessible is healthy food if somebody doesn't know how to prepare it? You're
That's what
talking on you know, your family and the foods that you guys focus on. I mean, we could do culturally appropriate foods and, you know, foods that are familiar. And it's weird because now we're kind of getting into the weeds of things. I don't know if that's going to go into the priority area, but I think that's an important call out we can throw in there.
But I think that's good that you mentioned that because we can always break it down under the goals.
In the-
So
oh,
when
yeah.
we say familiar, we can say, well, familiar by
Means,
specific.
oh yeah.
Culturally
Yeah.
appropriate foods that market all, you know.
And familiar foods within our community.
So just listening to you guys, what I jotted down, and let me know, what your thoughts are. A group that improves food access by increasing, and then this is where we remember the acronym: reliability, affordability, and familiar foods within our community. I think that's pretty specific. And the culturally appropriate, that's a tongue twister. So I like that we kind of maybe possibly eliminated that or mentioned it within the goals, but it's pretty straightforward. What are your thoughts? Do you have any suggestions on like wording for this? Because we're gonna have to say it to people. They're gonna ask us, and I'm not gonna be like, culturally, what was it?
Yeah, right.
Culturally, collaboration.
Yeah.
Right.
What's that mean?
Yeah.
Then you have to go further in explanation.
This is pretty solid, if you guys are comfortable with it.
What do you think?
Could you, reread that again.
Yeah, and let me know, like, this is not, this is just something that I'm listening to you guys and I'm just changing things around.
To improve.
A group that improves food access by increasing reliability, affordability, and familiar foods within our community.
Okay. Let
Yeah,
me
that
read
does sound good.
back out to you. Okay, so you're saying we are a group that improve,
We can change, you know, that improves food access by,
increasing reliability and affordability
yep,
and familiar food
so
within
RAF, RAF, reliability, affordability, and familiar foods.
food within our community.
When we said reliable, did that mean like consistent access? Is that what we said that meant? Okay. So not just like a one-stop distribution that ends after a grant term, but something that's there
That's more
every week.
sustainable,
Okay.
Or like, it's not a store that maybe sometimes has bananas, like it's somewhere that has consistent access.
Oh,
to,
gotcha.
You know, fresh healthy foods that way.
Speaking of bananas.
Yeah.
Yes, feel free to grab snacks in between. Okay,
So we'll take out the culturally appropriate part.
Yeah.
I don't think it's removing it. I think it would be good to add it to the principles
Yeah,
below.
for a priority area.
Because I do still think that word is
Really
important.
relevant, right?
Yeah.
That could be good for you delve deeper into the priority areas, and the goals could include.
Yeah, the goals can include, right, exactly. So we wanna vote on that, or we wanna say we wanna go with our last statement after we revisit it?
We have to make the decision today.
It's nothing is like 100%
Solid.
set in stone all the time. It's like nobody else has voted. That's very formal. I appreciate it.
Okay.
But like,
I'm
yeah.
asking.
No, that's a good.
with the board.
Yeah, so yeah, you're good. I know you've been through, yeah, lots of boards, yeah. Yeah, like nobody else voted. It's just like a thumbs up.
So we'll leave it as,
Mhm.
okay.
That works.
Okay, well, then, next on the agenda would be E, determining priority areas, board focuses, that the group wants to focus on. One, review health neighborhood stores, and I'm gonna turn this over to Savannah because she, knows more about this, and we've included this for the group, okay?
I think also Avery as well.
Yeah, I agree with Brian.
And, oh yeah, and Avery knows this, okay?
So I just wanted to like bring this up to you guys before you determine your priority areas, if it's something you're interested in making a priority area. The Healthy Neighborhood Store was like a working group that was like the Coalition of Community Gardens, Hillsborough, Department of Health, and Network Gen Hunger, I think, was part of it, but I don't, they weren't towards the end. And so they were trying to get like neighborhood stores, like corner stores, basically, to have more fresh foods, but they didn't have like infrastructure. They were just having problems about that. So there's already been work done on it. I don't know if you want to speak to it at all.
Yeah, so I didn't know there's not any updates from the last event we had, right?
I mean, there's information, and that could be like an action item. If your group wants to explore it more, you can reach out to, you know, like Katie Wallace and see if she can tell you who was part of the last group. And like, if you guys want to learn more about it, or you want it to be one of your priority areas, we can delve more into the information.
Is that a group that's kind of dissipating? You're
Um,
saying it like sounds like past tense,
it
kind of.
could, well, there's nothing going on right now.
Gotcha.
But like, if this group or economic development wanted to take it on as like a priority, that would be welcome. So economic development has talked about it a little bit, so I wanted you guys to also have, you know, a shot at it too, if you want.
Just take it before economic takes it.
You know, yeah.
Don't let them take it.
I was just curious, is this something that multiple groups can collaborate on and use multiple mini grants for?
We could, it's just like, more of like, do you want that to be like a priority area, is like a healthy neighborhood store? Or like you guys could do it together and like talk about it, but it just becomes a lot of the same, people doing the same work if two working groups are focusing on it.
Same thing.
So like, but somebody could maybe apply for a grant and say it's part of both of these working groups, like if, you know, whoever wants to lead the charge there, like wants to say that I'm applying for this money, but it's relevant to two working groups. So that makes me more, like I should get the money more because it's so relevant to your work. Yeah, so, but yeah, if you want to talk about what that's happened over the last couple of years with that group?
Okay, yeah. So we had an event back in November. It was at Buddy and Danny's Grocery, on Waters. And basically at that event, we tabled and we had, one of the team members brought starfish from her,
Starfruit.
sure.
I was like,
Oh, I was like,
there's no
this
starfish.
Wow. Yeah. No.
Starfish from her garden. We brought resources from each of our organizations, so we were providing outreach. And then we also distributed surveys, which had questions like, what's your favorite fruit vegetable? Would you be interested in a cooking demo at this location? And we had a lot of people stop by, which was great. And we, at least at that time, we're supposed to be partnering with the owner, who was very supportive of us being there and promoting that. We were just tabling like right outside the convenience stores, the convenience store, but that was determined to be a location where transportation and food access is an issue. It's been an issue in that neighborhood, and that they who's in that neighborhood are frequenting that corner store for their grocery needs. So I'd say the event went really well. I think we had like 30 respondents on the survey, so that was really good. Not everybody that stopped by filled out the survey, but most of them did. But that actually brings up something else. I don't know if I mentioned this in our last meeting, but I'm a part of the CHIP, the Community Health Assessment, Community Health Improvement Plan process in Hillsborough County. And I'm on the steering committee for that. Any of you are welcome or all to join that steering committee if you're interested, to just bring any of your input, feedback. We meet bi-monthly. Our upcoming meeting is the end of this month via Teams, and we're just talking about how to improve the health in Hillsborough County. We've done key informant interviews, focus groups, distributed surveys, all of that, and we're now working on the community health improvement plans. We're actually implementing the plans that we have and the results from like the survey and all of that. So I can definitely give you more information on that. But what came out of that steering committee too is we have 3 working groups. We have a social and economic factors work group. We have a behavioral work group, and then we have an environment, which is the one I'm a part of. Within that, I have also mentioned to my group about possibly incorporating that Healthy Hillsborough Neighborhood Store initiative, because I actually was using that initiative for my KCH project for healthy communities, or at least attempting to with as much as we could get done. But that environment work group would also be food access has come up a lot in that group. And just talking about how we can encourage community members to take advantage of community gardens that are in the area that they may not be aware of. And also to go along with that, how can we encourage individuals to grow their own gardens? And then that way it's benefiting the environment. And then they're also getting fresh fruits and vegetables, like they're consuming it as well. So that work group, the other 2 work groups, I could definitely connect you to the chairs if you're interested in being a part of, but my working group, the environment one, would definitely tie in really well with this. If any of you were interested, we meet like once a month via Teams or Zoom. So, and I'm a liaison with the Department of Health for that group. So I'm the one that's sending out the invites and the agenda, meeting minutes and all of that. So that's definitely something to consider if y'all are interested in, maybe gaining some input from some people in that group could also help this work grouping and vice versa. So as many hands make light work. So
You should definitely post that meeting on the platform in the food access group, I think, would be a good spot. Like maybe not the whole thing, but it's most relevant to this group, I think. So maybe post it as an event, then everyone will have the stuff. They don't have to be like, hey, Avery, you didn't send this stuff. So yeah, throw the links up there. That'd be awesome. Then anyone in Hillsborough could also be part of it.
Can you repeat the name of the organization? You said CHIP?
So the CHIP stands for the Community Health Assessment and the Community Health Improvement Plan.
Okay.
So it's a process that the Department of Health does every 3 to 5 years. It's a very extensive process. Like I said, it involves key informant interviews, distributing surveys. We work with a vendor who collects the data. And then our CHIP coordinator compiles the whole report, which is a very long report. And I can definitely send you more information on that if you're interested. It is something though that not like the DOH alone does. It's something that we're required to do like for accreditation purposes, but it's not something that just we can complete on our own. Like we have to
keep our partners engaged with that because we can't all speak to the health of Hillsborough County. Like it's one of those projects that we need community members for. And also the Department of Health is limited on how much they can share and how much they can, because their communications office is very strict on all of that. So we're limited, and so we really rely on our partners to aid in that process. But yeah, so.
That sounds very interesting. I do agree that that would be really a lot to our group. I think we could get a lot of our research for our mini grants just with that information alone.
All right,
Yeah.
then you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Exactly. We don't have to do
That
all the
you've done
research
the-
because
yeah.
we've done a lot.
Yeah.
Is that similar to the I know like the healthcare systems do the All for Health survey?
Yeah,
Is that similar?
We're with that, so it's.
Okay.
That.
Oh, I see. Okay. So it's part of that. It's a component of that
Yes, yes.
initiative.
Steering committee and All for Health are, it's like conjoined. Like,
Gotcha.
so it's all like the All for Health logos on our stuff and everything.
Got it. Okay.
So. Yeah, and our charter coordinator, she left a couple months ago, Marcella, you probably knew her. So we have someone else in her role now, so she's getting acclimated to all of that, but she'll be the one that's sending out like the steering committee meeting info. And then I'm the one that's helping with this work group, but it's, where we've talked about transportation, we've talked a lot about green spaces. A lot of the people on the group really want to do work with green spaces. And I had brought the point up to them in the meeting that, to go back to what I was saying a minute ago about the gardens, that there are community gardens out there. But I mean, I've grown up, I've born and raised here in the Tampa area. Like I've lived like New Tampa mainly, but like I've been to South Tampa many times, and there's a lot of community gardens I've driven past, but I didn't stop to look at notice. And I thought, what if there's people in these surrounding neighborhoods that have no idea that right down the street there's a community garden? And the Tampa Heights one is one that I had mentioned that is a great one. So yeah, just raising awareness for that. And yeah, so sorry I talked a lot. So
No, that was good
I can
information.
definitely, if y'all are interested, email you all more information on it, and I'll post in the group.
Yeah, post it in the group and then we'll say whether we're gonna join or not. Yeah, and attend. Yeah, because this is so good because it's a lot of information, gardening, I'm a gardener. I have a community garden. There's 62 gardens in Hillsborough, well, in 5 counties, in Hillsborough, most of them are here. So yes, we have those community gardens. And that would be, now, is that the only store you're working with, this Buddy, that store on?
Now, yes, so this and the Hillsborough Healthy Neighborhoods Initiative, that's the full name. When I came into this role 2 years ago, that initiative had started. Some of the people either moved on to different roles or their organization was not a part of it anymore, but I hopped on. And when I joined, they were at the point of the project where they had the plan set in stone. We toured Healthy Corner stores in the St. Pete area because they actually have, oh my goodness, I can't remember the exact number, but they have, I want to say 6. It may not be 6.
It's like 3 to 6. Yeah, you made 5 of them.
Yeah, somewhere in that range. They have convenience stores that they have created to become like a healthy neighborhood store as well. So they literally put fresh fruits and vegetables sourced from local farmers in those convenience stores, and we had the opportunity to tour some of them and to just kind of gain some ideas for what we'll do with that moving forward. And that was the first thing I did. And then we wrote the chair, Kitty, wrote a proposal for the city to fund the project. Once that was done, then in November, just this past November, we had the Buddy and Danny's grocery. My understanding was that we could partner with him again, the owner, for another event there because he was very supportive and encouraging it on board. But post that November event, we have not done anything else since then. So yeah, I mean, I thought the event went really well. More people stopped by than what I expected. And of course, having star fruit at the table helps, because the kids would run and they had the parents behind them and they're like, oh, okay, come up here. And then we had our resources as well. So it's also just a great opportunity to raise awareness of the resources that, we all have that could really benefit, others as well. So, yeah, but we've brought up in the environment work group, maybe partnering with like the Coalition of Community Gardens, getting in contact with some of the folks there, yeah, so with Kitty, and then kind of seeing how we can all work together, with that. But yeah, after our meeting last week, I'm like, I definitely have to bring this up today because it's so related, like food access just came up so much. I'm like, this just all ties in, and the timing works perfect too, because we literally just started this environment work group too. Like we've only had a couple meetings. So we're starting out, we have the work plan draft and everything. We set our SMART goals in the last meeting, so yeah, so it's good. I feel like I'm talking way too much.
It's into reading your priority areas, which
It's a
is,
good segue.
yeah, so the other groups, I don't know if you want to look at theirs to get an idea of like kind of what it is, most of them have their priority areas together, goals. Let me,
How many goals are we expected to provide?
like 1 to 3, if it's one really big goal or 3 super specific ones, but it shouldn't be something super broad, like it shouldn't just be like solve food insecurity, like that's not realistic. We're gonna use like the SMART,
And do we want to focus on different areas that have been known to already have high food insecurity?
that's up to you guys. If you wanna like make it about a specific location, like if you specifically wanna say like it needs to be in the university area, that's okay. Then you're also discounting, maybe if somebody has a group in East Tampa that wants to do something, and then it's like, well, our goals say you have to do this area. Okay, let me see, this is economic development. Their priority areas were, infrastructure, business development and innovation. And so they said like infrastructure meaning equipment, buildings, distribution channels, equipment, equitable access and vehicles, business development being profit growth, product offerings, job creation, marketing. They put equitable access in everything as well. And innovation being pilots, think tanks, equitable access tech. And then from those priority areas, their goals were to increase dollars spent on sourcing Hillsborough County and Florida grown nutritious food products to improve access in low-income, low-access area based on the census tract. And then I actually think that they even further made it focus, or they're saying like under this, that it needs to focus on supporting local farmers and businesses, increasing economic opportunities by providing technical assistance or creating jobs. And their second goal was to grow and build partnerships with Hillsborough County organizations, both public and private, which basically means that their grantees must be a partnership. They're not going to grant money to anyone who's working on their own. They want it to be a partnership because that was one of their like priority areas, was doing this like making things. That was, I think that was actually in their goal, was to have like collaboration, increased collaboration. So having that be part of it is that they want to build partnerships. So that's an example of their priority areas, just being more like a list of things that they want to focus on, and then the goal is becoming more specific versions of that. So you can see I put in here specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound, which is the SMART acronym. So that should be starting with priorities, which are a little more broad, but your priorities will lead into your goals. And so the goals need to be complete at the end of the next meeting in June. So when you just get the priority areas, next meeting we have to do goals, or if you want to, depend on how long we have, I think you guys probably have about 45 minutes to do both. And then I'll take 30 minutes to wrap up the other information that I was going to share with you all. So is that any questions? Does this help? The others, or do you want to see the other groups as well?
Can we see the other one too, please?
I have a question. Is there a certain number of priority areas we should have? Like, let's say we have 3, or does it not really matter?
2 to 5.
2 to 5.
We can show you food productions.
The time frame is usually within the year, or is this just ongoing?
For the goals.
For the, like the specific actionable steps?
So this working group technically is ending like in October of next year. So if you want to make your goals, but
Within the fiscal year.
yeah, within that. That's a good question, but also like people can be doing ongoing projects, but your goals should be like able to be wrapping up or close to the end by the end of this working group, which is October 2026.
So the goals need to fit that time frame, and then whoever is on the board, hopefully all of us,
Yes.
then we'll come up with another, goal for the next 2 years and so forth.
There might be a new working group, like we might change what the working groups are.
Oh.
So I would imagine, 2 years, we reevaluate and see if people want to focus on something else, or they say, okay, we did enough with food access,
Right.
solved, food insecurity. Fingers crossed. But okay. So food production, their priority, they actually had, they did 6 priority areas.
Wow.
I know, but it's one of those things like you can condense it back down. So their priority areas were education, infrastructure, and labor, and they kind of wanted to combine some of them as well. So education, infrastructure, and labor, funding, distribution, revenue streams, and profitability, and they were kind of getting those more specific. So they were saying policy would work towards this to educate people in the space on policies and make them digestible, and marketing. So like they want those to fit under education to be like marketing education. So you see this is more like a list, and then they didn't get to any goals. So this was their priority areas. So if that helps, it doesn't need to be like a sentence. It can be like you want to work on, access or food literacy, and maybe something a lot more specific than that. But these are pretty broad. So the goal would be closer to improving food literacy by, I don't know. Is that helpful to see these two?
Yeah, it is.
So, and then these were a little, this meeting only had like 3 people at it, so next meeting will hopefully be a little more. Yeah, they had some unexpected absences. And they had a small working group in the first place. Okay, so back to yours. Right, I'll let you guys focus on your priority areas. So I'm gonna stop you from working on, do you want to do like a shorter time just for priority areas and then try to move the goals, or just?
I think that's a good idea.
Okay, set a
Maybe like
timer.
15 to 20 minutes, how does that sound? Or do we need more?
You can always let it go. So we'll start 15, and if you guys are, need another 5. All right, so I'll go ahead and start.
So we were talking about 3 specific priority goals and then break it down into 3 to 5 actionable steps. Does that sound right?
Steps being the goals.
Um,
We need the priority areas and goals.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I think if in our working group definition, we have reliability, affordability, and familiarity, we should have priority areas that address those 3 components. I really like the healthy neighborhood store that Avery was talking about. I think being involved with that definitely touches on reliability. And I think that's something that it's worth pursuing.
And I have flyers and info on what a healthy Hillsborough neighborhood store is, and it outlines it, because it was actually started in another state. I think Pennsylvania was the one that started that one. So that would be really helpful. I'll definitely to send that to y'all as well, because then with y'all jumping on the bandwagon, we have like a starting point, because that could be great, because y'all could help it kind of gain traction.
Okay, because at the moment, no one's really pushing it along.
Yeah. Not really. I mean, I'm still very much and I'm not even the chair for it. I'm just a partner. But I'm more than happy to help assist the chair and do more work and push that along. Along with that, with priority areas, I don't know if this would be probably a priority area, maybe not a goal. Something about building partnerships or strengthening existing ones, because like to go back to my point earlier, I think there's a lot of great resources out there, and organizations or partners that we could have in our own circles, with our own professional work, but are we really leveraging like our resources like as much as we can and working? Because I'll admit there's times I go to partner events or community events and I have great conversations, and then I find out later that partner I spoke with, there was a way we could have conjoined our work and leveraged it, and I hadn't really pursued that with them. So
I think that would be somewhere in the priorities, building and strengthening existing partnerships. Because I think that'll help us move along faster with our work as well. So.
Could you give an example, perhaps?
Yeah, so Coalition of Community Gardens with this group. I personally, even though I've been sitting on this group, I haven't reached out to them myself. I haven't reached, I mean, I've had conversations with Kitty, but maybe there's someone else that works with Kitty on the Coalition of Community Gardens that could be a part of it. Oh, you're a part of that too, the coalition? Oh, okay, great. But yeah, just using that as an example of like, that would be great to help us with that area. I know that doesn't cover everything, but just as like a.
Because when you're talking, I initially think like if we're thinking food access, like connecting farms and urban farms to some kind of distribution point. Is that kind of the partnership we're talking about, or is it more another avenue?
I'm glad you bring that up. That's a great point, because for the Healthy Neighborhood Store initiative, we have to partner with a local farmer that's going to help us put the fresh fruits and vegetables there. So yes, that was. Yeah. I'm not worried. Great.
Okay.
Oh, it makes sense.
I'm just writing down stuff you guys are.
Ideas.
Thank you.
So I'll get the like actual priority areas of typing it so you guys can see it as well.
Which is good, because what I'm doing is I'm trying to tie in what you guys are saying and tie it into the reliability, accessibility, and familiar food. So to me, in my opinion, what you're discussing about like the distribution farmers, healthy neighborhood stores ties in my opinion, with reliability, because we're partnering with all those different organizations to try and grab their attention so that we can get more food access initiatives, and just people that are helping us with our goals, with our specific goals. So that reliability, I don't know if that is, in that same line as reliability, but we need the help from someone. We can't just do it all by ourselves. We need the help. So that partnership, in my opinion, is the reliability for us to then provide, the resources to the community. And then accessibility would tie in, I think, in my opinion, the nutrition portion of it. So accessibility, like recipes and meal planning. I'm sure you have a lot of different resources when it comes to that. And then familiar foods, like community gardens. So familiar foods, everybody wants their own community, not everyone, but most people, when they do grow their garden, they want it to be familiar to themselves so that they can go outside and pick some chives or whatever it is that they want, beans, whatever it is that they want. So what you guys are telling me is I'm trying to put it on paper so that we do our goals, that it's all kind of coming together. I don't know if that makes sense as far as the reliability and the partnerships. Maybe we can kind of look more into that. Like, when you guys think of reliability, what do you think? Like, where does your mind go with reliability?
Like something sustainable, like something that's not just gonna end if we all leave this group, something that'll be long lasting. That's what I think of.
This isn't my strong suit, but I know we do have a lot of like focus and enthusiasm about community gardens and self-gardening. And I don't know if food production is going to claim that kind of role, but if they don't, I feel like somebody should, and it would probably fall under food access, about either education or supporting of those avenues of food production, of community gardens in local areas, or urban farms. And that's more of a question. That's something that fits with us, or should that sit with the other two groups? Community gardens and people developing their own gardens in their own backyard, encouraging that.
I keep making these sentences, and then I saw where their priority areas were just one word, some of them. So are we gonna be really broad? Are we gonna be, we're gonna reduce it to the definition? How we, what I'm saying?
I like what Savannah's doing. I think we'll change out those words, but I think it should be like a one-word focus, but then there should be background information of what it means.
Oh, okay, something I wrote down. Just something. What about to increase public awareness on the reliability of fresh fruits and nutritional foods? It's just something
So
I wrote.
education.
Yeah, I think
And
that's
then
all.
that would be, we can say, education increase. When we're increasing public awareness, is that we're gonna educate the public on reliability of fresh and nutritionist food, or, are can we, you know what I'm saying? Can we like break it down to like something similar? This would be our education component.
Right.
And then another thing I thought of, well, here's another thing I thought of. To educate the public on affordable foods, that would be our local our local store.
This chart here.
Mhm.
If I feel like if there's gonna be any education,
Mhm.
it might involve like partnering with individuals like that work already in, I mean, maybe not, but I think it's helpful for us is our goals to kind of make sure that we're in line with whatever this is, because they're gonna take care of that and they're gonna take care of that. How are we tying this into our goals in education?
Was the intention of this for Homegrown Hillsborough to kind of pitch these are the ideas of organization that you're partnering with?
It's more, yeah, it's like, it's not set in stone, but those were kind of like, so you can see community gardens is connected to you all and food production.
Right.
So it's
maybe
like,
they can see.
there is overlap in the working groups, and
Yeah.
that's okay.
Right.
And we know this. We don't want you having the exact same priority areas, but there is overlap, so that's not like we knew that was happening. But yeah, those were kind of like examples pretty much.
Those are,
But
okay.
I mean,
I feel like
they're
there's work
accurate, yeah.
food production's gonna be doing that, it's not at all gonna be related to what we're doing. Like, yeah, there'll be stuff that can tie in, but like ours is gonna be so more focused on just like the access component of it, like how
Right,
can we
just
just
how to
connect
get
with farmers
into
for that,
it.
and that's it. Whereas for them, they may be going in a different direction when they're partnering with farmers to reach their goals. I did want to bring up if this is helpful. I don't know if it will be or not, because we don't have a specific like nutrition class, but the Department of Health does offer free chronic disease prevention classes, all of which have nutrition components in them. The classes are free to Hillsborough County residents, offered virtually and in person at various locations in Hillsborough County. So not a main point of this, but I did want to bring up with the education that would be a way that we could, because they do talk about meal planning, they do talk about food prep. In the gift class, which is Get Into Fitness Today, there's a whole, I've done the trainings for these classes, and they have, even though they're not branded as a nutrition class, there is a nutrition component and they're free. So maybe some community members want to take a class, but they can't afford to take like a class that you're going to pay for. And this being a free class, Hillsborough County only, would be, I just think something that we could keep kind of in mind with this is and somehow tying this in.
Yeah. And now that you mentioned that, when I was working with the Healthy Living Program with Hillsborough County, they have 4 different resource centers that I was the one leading those classes, but there's also a new, another dietitian there who's also leading free classes as well. So those are, at the time that I was there, it was monthly. I don't know if they're quarterly or monthly, but I think we can tie in those types of things into our goal of access or increasing food literacy with the meal planning and the cooking aspect.
Can I make a suggestion? Sorry, oops. Can I maybe suggest that we take like a couple of minutes, not long, because I guess we don't even have that much time.
Like 3 minutes on the 15.
Oh,
We have
three?
more time. Like, okay, that's just like a gentle.
Okay, well then 1 or 2 minutes to think of like priority areas that we think are related to food access, just in our minds, write it down and then share it with each other so that we can see if we're all on the same page. Like I know, Regina, you mentioned education. Then you mentioned partnerships and farming. So maybe if we collaborate on those priority areas, keeping in mind the reliability, accessibility, and familiar foods, then we can come together with the goals. Maybe that's what we need to focus on first to kind of get down to the nitty gritty. If that makes sense.
I agree. That's a good idea.
Yeah, all right. I don't think it has to be many, like, even if you just come up with 1 or 3.
They're not right. I want to be in
I'm getting hungry around here.
And you guys picked a lunch block to have your meetings, so,
You did do that? We did that?
yeah, you guys picked
Oh, I-
12 to 2.
I don't remember that. We shouldn't have done that.
Day that the cafe here is open. So you-
Monday and Wednesday, yeah, afterwards.
There's so many people there just to get the food.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
So the Cuban is very favorite,
Really? Oh, wow.
but I feel like every restaurant in Tampa's been saying that since I moved here.
I know.
Right.
You're the best.
Well, the funny thing is I actually see a lot of a sign that says second best Cuban in Tampa Bay.
Oh,
Where?
I'm like, then who's the first?
yeah. Fine.
No one wants to claim the first spot.
Have like a cute sandwich festival.
Yeah, and I know that there's this whole like controversy between like Tampa and Miami.
Really?
Yeah, who has the best Cuban between the two cities?
Tampa's claiming the rights to the Cuban. Mine is saying no.
It's interesting.
I actually have the flyers too on those classes I was talking about. So if y'all are interested, have a look at it.
Yeah, that's no.
Yes, please.
Y'all want to copy. So, yeah. I'm pretty sure I did it.
I'm sure I have one, yeah.
Okay, but if you want another one, I have one. But like, you can see where nutrition is right in there. And then this one, they do also talk about nutrition as well, because of the importance of losing weight with that. And
Are they all?
Who would like to?
That class, so the blood pressure class, so not to get us off topic, but that class, can only be taught by a dietitian. So if they have hired us, which I know they were seeking to hire, then yes. But all the other ones are taught, by health educators or the dietitians, so, those are available at those.
Yes.
All right.
So who would like to start?
So I had three. The first one, I kind of thought if we're going to focus on reliability, it would be about increasing capacity at food access points. So trying to clump the neighborhood corner stores together with the community gardens, the farmers markets, and the pantries. So having some kind of focus on just improving the systems that are already there and kind of going back to Avery's point about improving partnerships, where we're creating more partnerships and providing different ways for them to either offer more fruits and vegetables, to offer educational components, if we connect them to FDOH or other places that do nutrition ed. So that's the first one. The second one was increasing food literacy. So increasing access to education opportunities. So the classes that we talked about, there's so many. I mean, with the one that FDOH does, Feeding Tampa Bay has adult and youth classes in the area, but we only have 2 educators in the county. So it's a matter of, showing the community, here are all your free options to access classes. If these don't work, you might have these and these, and connecting that information to like a one pager of like, look how many classes are available here, wherever you want to go. You go FIFAS, FTB, FDOH. And then lastly was the advocacy on food access challenges for neighborhood. Regina had mentioned something about, educating people on the challenges that there are and pushing it forward. And I think part of food access, it's hard. It's not just as easy as bringing food to a neighborhood once a week and assuming that that's going to solve everyone's problems. It's ingrained with other things. So having, tabling events or other ways to advocate for that. That was it.
I can go next. So I know, just to reiterate something, building and strengthening partnerships, among the community gardens and, like coalition community gardens and farmers. But something else that I was thinking of, was food banks and food district. This actually came up in our environment work group meeting. food banks and food distribution centers, it being a challenge that they're open, like a lot of them close at 5, or they're only open during times
Business hours.
people are at work. And someone in our group asked, is there a way that we can connect with someone that oversees that at like a food bank? We didn't have any specific needs yet, but and see if there are certain periods of time that may not be feasible to do, completely change their schedule every day moving forward. But is there a time frame where like once a week or, once a couple times a month, can they extend their hours so that individuals who really need that resource are accessing it when they, at hours that they're able to after work? And then I don't know if this has come up in this work group yet, but this is a resource that is new to me now, is the TGH Community Garden. And I know they have a food pharmacy as well. So yeah, so is that a potential partner that we could work with to help us reach our, goals with this, and also like increase access that way? Now, I know the food pharmacy, from what I know, is that they have to have like a RX from a doctor so that they can access that garden, because it has to be deemed like medically, and to get the fresh fruits and vegetables. So I know that's not one that's like accessible for everybody, but I just thought of them as like a potential
Both of those we can
partner.
Thankfully, we have. I can help.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, we're the ones that started that program, so we have that connection with Tampa Well. We are working on extended hours for agencies. Obviously, each agency is run on their own, but like our market here that's open, it's open from 4 to 8, Tuesday through Thursday. And that's in the new neighborhood agreement that we're implementing for our agencies, is to have some form of, 1, open regularly, so more than just monthly, but then 2, open hours outside of just 8 to 5. So it's definitely there, but having support through a working group like this will definitely bolster that transition. But it has less to do with the food bank implementing a policy and more to do with working with a specific pantry to have the capacity to have staff ready to, operate those hours. But both are definitely realistic for this group to target, and I can connect us to the right person
Okay, great.
for this group and whatever group, the environment group you were referring to.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
And then something else that had come up that I think is related, is that they were discussing like the stigma that a lot of people like don't want to stand in the food lines because they don't want like others to like see them standing there or something like that. Like, is that something that like I don't honestly know how to address that on my own? But what's, I don't know, like a way to make it more like kind of reduce the stigma on that and like encourage people to access the resources that are available to them without being embarrassed about it.
I know what I've seen, this is just from what I've seen in New York and what I've seen in I think it was University of Tampa or some college. I think it was Hillsborough Community College. They have, it's almost like a supermarket where you can just pick and choose your foods instead of just being handed a bag and waiting in line, where I feel like it's,
More dignified.
yeah, it's like a way.
It's a choice pantry model.
This one. It's the same, it's like a choice. So they exist, but maybe like encouraging more choice
Yeah.
markets might help with this.
Yeah, that's right.
And there's a training sent by FANO. They're trying to get all the pantries to transition to that, but there's a toolkit. We were part of a grant to work on that. So we do have that material to help any site transition to that choice instead of like a one box delivery, so that we can do that.
That was all I had.
Those are great ideas.
Yes. Well, I'll tell you what, I didn't do some general stuff, like I was speaking on increasing awareness, on public, reliability and fresh and nutritional food. That's the educational component that we want to, implement. And also to educate the public on affordable food. That's part of our definition as well. We want to make sure we talk about it, we get someone to have the food that's affordable and that we can give people access to. I think it's a WIC program, or what is it, the food stamp program or something like that.
SNAP.
Yeah.
the fresh access
Mhm.
books.
Yeah. You can double your money.
Exactly.
We don't know.
If my one didn't.
Yeah.
I think Sweetwater or something, they do that every
Yes.
Saturday, yeah. So, you can be looking at things like that and then to increase the accessibility to culturally appropriate foods and familiar, since we put that in there, familiar, foods to the community. And then we want to build and strengthen our partnerships with existing, partners. So I'm just keeping it, simple.
I'm hearing, and
It's how
I'm
we-
keeping note of all of what
Yeah.
everyone's saying, and
Mhm.
the partnerships keeps coming up,
Yeah,
and
the partnership, yeah.
and advocacy and the food literacy.
Right, maybe one of our areas to be advocacy, like food literacy and partnership.
Mhm.
Something like that. I don't know, based on like all the things you guys talked about, because we got about 15 minutes, so.
Did you want to share anything?
Oh, it's pretty much the same thing that you guys are saying. For me, real quick, I'll do it in a minute.
Okay.
Nutrition education, meal planning, recipes, stuff like that, just to kind of
Nutrition.
tie things in. Nutrition, I think, ties into it doesn't matter. We'll figure it out.
It's all
Partnership. Partnerships, we already talked about that, raising awareness for the grant offerings too, because we're all partnering, they they can spread the word, they can help us with the grants, and then hopefully get more money. That's right.
Yeah.
And then community awareness, because I don't even know where these food banks are and all these things you guys mentioned. I'm just like, I want to know so I can tell my patients, because this alone right here is super helpful. So, those were my 3 things: nutrition, partnerships, and then awareness.
Yeah.
The DOH actually has a nutrition and WIC office too, so
good.
that could be, you could connect with them potentially as well. So
And I know, sorry to cut you off. I know a lot of the members in WIC because I used to work at 2 WIC offices.
okay,
So I think it would be good to, just as like points for community, like sectors where we can try to increase food access in those areas, and also just partnering with like the directors or the program managers for those.
yeah, because some individuals I've come across, I didn't even know that DOH was affiliated with the nutrition WIC. Like the DOH employees worked at those WIC offices, and that we could connect them.
Okay.
With that, they thought it was this whole process to try to connect to WIC and all that, and we're like, no, we can connect you, and they do referrals and everything here too. They provide the nutrition education too, so that's definitely really helpful to go along with the education as well. Talk about.
Well, the only thing I wrote was mainly based off of my own experience. So a lot of the clients that I work with may not have accessibility, like either transportation to get food. So for me, my biggest thing was just how to get foods to them. So I didn't see anyone bring that up. So I just thought, is that something that we can include, or is that something that's, what do you all think?
That's a good idea. It has to be reliable.
Mhm.
That's one in the working group definition. But some people have to travel far just to go to their doctors. If that's the case, it's probably the case for food access as well. So transportation, I think, could be a good idea to tie into that accessibility portion of it for sure.
Would that fall under like the advocacy education piece that we were talking about, or is this specifically finding a way to create a process where we get food delivered to people? Or is that what were we talking? I'm sorry, I might have missed.
No, that's exactly what I was
Okay.
thinking. Yeah. So, kind of like a Meals on Wheels, but maybe, whether it's grocery boxes or actual prepared meals or maybe with the partnerships that you were all mentioning, we could tie that in somehow. That's just what came up to me.
And so to be clear, like your working group isn't like creating something, like you wouldn't be creating like a whole program, but you would be like, if someone wants to create a partnership, like Doobie's Mobile Market wants to partner with Beach Urban Farm to do food delivery in East Tampa, like that's what you would want. Because you remember that the priority areas are what you want to fund. So we're focusing on what what you want people to apply for money to do.
Right.
So like, it shouldn't be creating like a new thing, but you can like encourage partnerships. You can like tell people what you want to be funding, but like you guys aren't like creating those organizations or creating, like, we don't want makers, we don't want new organizations. We want current stuff to partner together, create like, you know, like you're saying, collaboration, partnerships. But like, we don't want like something new, like a new working group born out of this. We want to look at stuff that is already existing. And so that's what these priority areas are, what you guys want to fund.
Do you think the transportation would tie into maybe the advocacy? If we're focusing on partnership, food literacy and advocacy?
I think so. So we said, so partnerships, the advocacy, and then food literacy, said education, so that advocacy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is education. What else? So it's like, how would, so if these are your four, what would we put under each one? Advocacy was the education, like transportation. Slash like physical access.
I think advocacy, we can talk about like barriers to food access.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because like increasing capacity at access points. Would that be like strengthening partnerships or is that?
I think that could fall under strengthening partnerships.
Yeah.
Because that would be collaboration between two groups providing like produce, providing resources and materials.
Then food literacy is like nutrition, cooking, classes, etc. Okay. Great. That is really good.
Do we need to call out again culturally?
I think that
Would that fall under food
Yeah,
literacy?
food literacy, yeah.
Culturally.
And familiar. And
slash means in, oops, like in education or in, or just in general, just include that as part of
Yeah, I
it. That's
think
part
in
of food
general.
literacy, I guess,
Yes.
yeah. Okay. And making sure if someone's doing food literacy, they're making sure that it is culturally appropriate foods. when they're
Right,
doing that
exactly.
type of work. Okay. I think that's good.
Okay.
I think we can even build our goals based off of.
Yeah,
what
Right,
we should
yes,
do.
yes, yes, you should have the, yes, that is the point, yes. We do want you to build it off of these, yes.
No, I mean, but just like, but you're tying, like, you're tying it in beautifully, I just have to say.
You guys are doing. Are we happy with? So I don't think we have time to work on goals, we only have 7 minutes.
they're not due till next.
Yes, next.
That'll
week,
be our
we have to
homework.
finish-
That'll be our homework.
So, yes,
Y'all home.
I would say deliverable
And they
for next
gotta
meeting.
come from our priority.
Yes.
Okay, they're already there, so it should be.
Yeah.
short.
Yeah, so I'll include that with your deliverables for next meeting would include
Goals. Finishing.
ideas for goals.
Completing goals.
And that should
Because
be
that's what you,
between 3 to 5. You mentioned
I would say like
less.
2 to
2
3.
to 3.
And even one really good goal is acceptable if it's like, if it's more encompassing of, you know, multiple projects, but just a little smaller is good too. Yeah, like 2 or 3.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Good job.
Sounds good. Yeah, it sounds really good.
So I'll move on to this part. Let me say.
New business?
Okay, new business. I guess you will take it over now, Michelle. Why don't you go for it?
Sure. So new business, A would be begin to determine WG's goals.
So that's where tabling that.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, like.
Oh, okay, sorry. All right. Oh, so B is continuing education stipend available, $2,800. Go over the review requirements and the review application.
So I'll talk about this. So for each working group has $3,000 for continuing education. RJ used about 200 of those to go to that summit you talked about. Great job. I made this like one page, well, it's a little more than one page. I made this little guide to talk about how you can use those goals or use that funding. We have to, it's available to you all first, you all are the leadership team. But if it's unutilized by August 1st, which is soon, we'll open it to anyone in Homegrown Hillsborough. So if you guys want to go to a conference, you can travel. Like if you want to go to a conference somewhere else, like that's totally acceptable. It's for structured events and courses that contribute to professional development that benefit the working group's objectives. So you can't just go to, I want to go visit a community garden in Maine. No, you have to go to a conference in Maine that's focused on food access or like food systems, you know, something like that. It needs to be structured. It can be an online course. As you can see, we have a good amount of funding. That's per working group. So this funding so it's used for professional development. So things you could use it for would be registration fees. That would be for registering for an event, for a conference or a course. You can travel. It needs to follow like the government's guidelines here for like mileage, which there's a link here to the government page that basically tells you like, you know, mileage is 70 cents a mile and hotel rooms for this city should be, you know, at this rate. So you need to specify the transportation. There is an application under here that we'll go over after this. So you can drive, you can fly, you can take a train, wherever you want to go. And then we'll also cover lodging, accommodation costs. Request budget should follow government site guidelines for the per diem rates. On your request, you're going to tell us, you know, the nightly rate, and reimbursement will reflect the actual cost of lodging. So, like if you end up leaving early or whatever or something, we'll only pay the actual cost. And then our not allowable costs, we will not cover meals unless they're explicitly included in the registration fees. If you go to a conference, there's like lunch or something, that's fine. But like we won't cover your outside meals. Entertainment, personal expenses, materials that are not mandatory, aka like textbooks that are optional, membership fees, unless it's part of registration. Like you have to be a member of this group to go to this conference. Travel or lodging arrangements that do not adhere to the government guidelines, and expenses occurred without prior written approval. So to get approval, you have to submit an application, and we'll go through that when I'm done with this. That asks exactly what you'd expect, basically what it is, a description of it, its relevance to your role in the working group. We'll ask for an estimated cost, like basically like a budget for you. And then some notes is that it's subject to availability, so it's kind of first come, first serve. Like unless everyone submits everything on the same day, and you know we go to review it and we're like, oh, like all 5 people want to go to the same thing, like probably not. But really, if you want to go to something, like I said, this is August 1st is when we're going to open it to everyone. So find something you want to go to, use it, and it'll be based on the relevance of continuing education to the individual's role. So we'll prove it that way. You're encouraged to seek cost-effective options for travel and lodging. Like I said, if they are unutilized by August 1st, they'll be open to any member of the working group, which really means anyone in part of Homegrown Hillsborough. And if you have any questions, to ask me. Is there any questions before I start the application? I'd like to show you what it is. So I tried to make this very, sorry, this is so tiny once again. Okay, let's see.
Yeah.
So, here we go. $3,000 per fiscal year for members to grow their knowledge about local food systems, conferences, trainings, online courses. Then it links you back to the document I just showed you to review. We want to know your name, your email, your phone. What is the opportunity? What organization is hosting the opportunity? We need a description of it. Usually there's a description on the website. You can copy paste, that's totally fine. We want to know the dates, if it's virtual, which working group you're part of, how will it contribute to the goals of your working group. So, you know, 2 sentences about how it's going to contribute. If you want to write an essay about it, please go for it. We want to know the total cost and then more of the breakdown. So the registration fee, and then if you're traveling, these are not required if you're not traveling. Like if it's an online course, you don't have to fill this out. And then I understand that I will only be reimbursed for actual costs incurred, and receipts must be provided. We do need those too if we're going to reimburse you. But if we can pay for it ahead of time, like when RJ did his, he called me on the phone and we just typed in the the numbers. It's much easier if we can pay for it versus reimbursing you. It's extra work. And like we said, you do have to get everything approved. So don't come back and be like, oh, like I had to pay for something unexpected. Like if it's urgent, call me. And we can get it worked on that. And then we also are asking, when you've completed the educational opportunity, you can produce like a 1-page report to share with your working group, like how RJ shared with you guys. But we actually want something more physical in the future, like a 1-page thing. So then we can also share with other working groups. So just because RJ's in this group, we're not going to ask you to go to other groups unless it was super like amazing and even it's more available to time. So we know that you're going to be here for this work. So, you know, if I go to the group and say, here's the 1-pager that Avery went to this conference and here's what she produced, I can do that. So you have to check those.
And they would check for spelling and.
Yes, yeah, Avery will proofread everyone. So that's, it's appreciated.
I meant it in a nice way.
I muted it, don't worry. We're good, they didn't hear.
In the working group folder, so it's gonna be super.
Would it be under the Mobilize app or would it be under the
No,
Drive?
not
Google
yet.
Drive.
It'll be in the drive. It'll be on Mobilize when if you guys don't spend $3,000, I'll put it up there.
Okay.
But it's under here. So this is your folder that you all
It's on
should
the
have
drive?
access to. Yes, this is Drive, and here forms for working group leaders. I cannot make that font any bigger when I zoom in. So it's under not in your working group folder, but
Just the
it's
general.
under the general folder, forms for working group leaders. And that has the co-chair monthly report that's only for the co-chairs, and it has the requirements and the form. So both of these link to each other. Like these two both have links to the other form on it, so whichever one you want to click on is fine, but they're both there. Hopefully, you know, I'll add more forms to here for you guys, so it's not this sad looking page. But if you have any trouble finding it, let me know. You should all have access to it. It's just in that main folder there.
And the timeline for that would be anytime before October?
Yeah, it just needs to be spent before October,
Okay.
but we're opening it up after August 1st. So definitely look for that. And yeah, I included that in,
Oh, so if there's an event in July, we would not be able to use.
like, if
Apply
it's
for it.
next year, you would have to use
No,
next
no,
year's
this
budget.
July. They were.
Oh, so
or
what month is it? Yeah, sorry. I was like, yeah, next year. It is May.
This.
Yes, you could do something in July this year. I'm sorry.
How much funding do we have up until October?
$3,000. Yeah, so the $3,000, and then next year you'll have another $3,000. So starting October 1st
Of next year.
through, yeah, so it'll be 1 year, October 1st to October 1st.
Okay.
We'll have $3,000.
So to be fair,
Mhm.
if, I use up maybe 1,000 and she use up 1,000, and then you have maybe, what?
Then we'll have 800.
You have 800 now. And then maybe, Avery get to go, then that would mean, since RJ already done something, or we've done something. So the next year, the following year, then someone who haven't done anything, they can use that's how we're gonna do this.
I think it's
Make it
more
like
like, I mean, if nobody's applying,
choice.
you can use
I
all
think
the
it's
money. If
Up to
nobody
us
else
to
does-
decide, yeah.
Yeah, like it's really, it's availability. We know other people have full-time jobs, and if they
Yeah.
can't get time off to do something from Hillsborough, like, we'll try to make it fair, but again, like, we can't force
It's the
people
first
to go
come,
do something,
First come,
yeah.
first served.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like-
first come, if I
Yeah.
go to a conference and it takes up all of 2 hours. They want me to go, that's like too bad, you gotta be
Kind of, I mean, if nobody else is applying, it's, like I said, it's really like, you should be looking.
saying.
Yeah.
Look for things to do.
Oh, our feelings.
There's one in July I'm interested, I don't know if it would count, I mean, it's like FPHA, is that one that would count for this?
What is that?
The Florida Public Health Conference?
If you can argue why it's relevant, then you can, but that's all up to your application.
Okay,
So like, if you can tell us how it's relevant to food access and you want us to cover it, it's really like, don't limit yourself. Like, don't be afraid to apply for something. Don't be like, oh, I don't know if it's allowed. Like, see, my post on the platform. Don't worry about it. And like, the worst we can say is no. And we're not gonna be like, oh, like that, Eileen, she applied for the wrong thing. Like, we're gonna block her from the thing. Like, no, we totally want to help you guys. We have this money so we can use. So it's important that we use it or lose it, you know? So it's allotted for this. And so that I put that on deliverables, like look for continuing education opportunities because we want you guys to develop, this is like leadership development. So that's like kind of part of the working groups is we want to develop leaders in our community. So if it's a leadership like course or something you want to take and you can say it's relevant to food access in that way, like go for it. Yeah, like I said, worst you can say is no. Give it a shot and
I'll try then.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
went last year and it was really good.
Yeah.
And it covers a ton of different public health topics. So I need to look at the agenda to see.
if there's like a track that's, if there's enough like things on the agenda that are food access that you could attend or something like that, like that's great. Yeah.
Am I allowed to
Yeah,
talk?
yeah, you can talk about
Oh,
it.
is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, so it's like.
I didn't know
I'm
we
like,
should talk about
I don't know what to tell
costs
you.
on here.
Oh,
I didn't know.
Never
I don't know
know.
what's like, but, yeah, I can. Are you an FPHA member?
No, no, no.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
I'm
really-
just curious to see how much funding will be.
Yeah.
Oh, last year it'll still, it's not gonna be that much, like, it's not as much as y'all were saying earlier. It's-
But yeah, like, don't be afraid of the costs, like I said, we have this money and it's a pretty short turnaround right now, so pretty much you have like the summer to do something. I mean, it'll still be available after August 1st, but it's just open to more people, but who knows, maybe nobody will apply, and if you find something and there's still funding, then go for it, and that'll be RJ to keep track of this, because he's the treasurer.
Yes.
I have cooperated.
Perfect.
I have the template for the treasurer. We'll try to do a treasurer meeting. We're having a secretary meeting first, so that's like, right now, a secretary meeting.
Okay, don't say it loud. Jeez.
It's funny. Or there's not a meeting, so we need the secretary.
Yeah.
Did anyone else have is anyone opposed to me applying to one?
No, no, go for it. First come,
Because
first
Jill
serve.
already had one applied.
No, first come, first serve.
Okay, because I've been wanting to go to the conference and debating like if I wanted to pay out of my own pocket, but then like between here and my job, I'm like, well, if they have the funds for it, I mean, it would be silly not to
And that's in the summer.
apply. Yeah, it's July 29th through 31st or whatever the Tuesday through Thursday are at and it's in Orlando. Last year was my first year going, and it was great, packed with tons of information, breakout groups and speakers, and we actually did a photo voice project on the DOH and we won an award for it. So that was really neat too. So no special projects this year. I just wanted to attend. I learned a lot. I have the CHES certification too, so that's something that I use for like continuing education with that.
What is that?
CHES, so it's Certified Health Education Specialist credential with InCheck, the National Commission for Health Education Credentialing. So my concentration in grad school was public health education. So I just got it because I wanted to have, something to show for it. Yes. Something else just besides the degree to go with it. So
That's awesome.
I like what Avery did about sharing the going out with the group. I'm sorry, my brain words. Not sharing like what she's gonna apply for so we can learn about it. And so the group is aware of like what it is. And if anyone has any like objections, I mean it's not up to us to decide whether or not they can apply, but I like, thanks for sharing.
That could be something that's part of your meetings under like that first thing that we just, that's like a new development.
New development.
You can say like, I applied to attend this
Yeah.
education thing or something. If there's a benefit to more than one person going, that's not, it could happen, that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. So anything else about those applications and team education? Understood. Okay, so then the mini grant application, which is that other $4,000 that you guys have to award before October 1st, we've created a draft application that I just want to get your feedback on. We plan to open it like early June, June 9th, so your goals will be complete around the time that it opens. We might just list the priority areas. I'm gonna do like a one-page sheet that people can look at on this application that shows like, here's the priority areas or the goals from each working group. But we just like need to get it open, so we can't wait until the end of June when all the meetings are done but your guys meet early in the month, so it should be around the time. It's not like a hard date, June 9th, but that's just the day that Monica comes back from her maternity leave already. So I know. I think she's just coming back to do part-time and then she'll do full-time after that. Yeah, exactly. So if you guys also plan on doing anything for the benefit of the working group before October 1st, like this is the bucket to utilize. Like if you want to use your money to have an event to like encourage people to apply for stuff in the future, I don't know. I'm having a trouble like thinking of some way that your group could use it. Like if you want to cater a meeting to get people to show up, that's another way to do it, like to recruit more people to come to the meetings. Things like that. And this would probably be like the bucket, like we had talked about. Like if you guys want to pay for snacks, like to reimburse Michelle, we can do that if that's something you guys want to use the money for. It just needs to be like decided as a group. How like if you're gonna do anything as a working group that benefits the working group, this is your bucket. So we also, okay, so yeah, I'm saying too many things at once. Let's go through this application. So it's not open yet. Like I said, it will open in June. So you guys don't have access to this. I'm just showing you. So it gives some background here. It's a grant to support Homegrown Hillsborough partner projects as they align with working group priorities in areas of food production, food access, and economic development. This will not be a recurring funding opportunity. All funds will be available on a one-time basis with notification of grants being made on September 1st, 2025. The applications will be submitted by August 1st at 11:59 p.m. So your August meeting will be reviewing these like applications. Applications can be submitted on behalf of an organization or a project team. However, in the event that an application is not being submitted by a 501c3, a fiscal sponsor must be identified, or an agreement can be made through a Homegrown Hillsborough working group, which would be the well, to disperse those funds. So it can be a for-profit like group. They have to make like an agreement on how funds will be, it'll be more like they'll be reimbursed versus giving them money ahead of time. And we will not fund individuals. So that's pretty much the only thing that we will not fund, is just like one person doing like a pet project. Like they have to have an organization of some kind. It's just like it doesn't have to be a nonprofit, it could be a business. And yeah, because a lot of the other groups was like, just tell us what you won't fund. And like I talked about it with Zelly, and she's kind of like, I'm pretty open to anything. Like a lot of grants they won't pay for personnel, but that is listed in here as something. Like they won't pay for infrastructure, but that is something we're willing to do. So what we're asking for on the application, start with the project overview section. We want to know their first name, last name, their email address, phone number, so we can contact them, the organization or the name of their project, what their role is, either in that organization or in that project, and who are the partners involved. We also want to know the partner points, which if you guys saw on the platform, Monica posted about partner points. There's a whole like spreadsheet about them pretty much. And that kind of is to reward people who are attending Homegrown Hillsborough stuff. So like for being at working groups, you get points. For being, if you like organize an event, you get points. If you attend an event that's posted on the platform, you get points, but you have to apply for them.
Is this different than values?
Yes. Yeah, so the partner points are just basically you get them for being involved, attending stuff, but you have to submit a form about it. And this is all on Monica's post on the platform. Like there's some very detailed information. And then so I think we kind of go back and forth on, I think we wanted the partner points like page that keeps track of everything to be public, so you can just look. And like, it doesn't have to be your points. If there's someone in your organization who posts all the events on the platform, you can use their points, It's just someone in your organization, you can use their points. Basically showing how much your organization is involved in Homegrown Hillsborough, because we want that to have like some weight. And not just be like, oh, this random person that we've never seen before showed up and wants to get $30,000. Like, we kind of want to put a little bit of weight. It doesn't mean if you have 3 partner points, you're not getting an award. But we just want to know how involved you've been. And then a description of the project, which working group your application fits within, and how does your project advance the priorities of the working group? So I want them to tell us why, what does it do for the working group? And then this is where we want the budget, how much are they requesting? We do want to split that budget up with a max of $2,000. So it's a total of $4,000. if someone can come up with a reason they want all $4,000 and you guys want to approve it, that's okay, but we kind of wanted for this, the interest of being able to award more grants. So it kind of needs to be like a two-parter, like they need to submit an award for one half and then for the other half, like if they want to split it into like two projects. I don't foresee that happening, but you never know. We don't want to really say no to anything, but we do. People from the other working groups did say that they kind of needed like a number. It wasn't because we originally had just said, tell us what your budget is. Like we have, but it says at the top that there's $4,000, but they were kind of like, we should split it up into smaller things, but we didn't want to make it too small and people needed more. So that's kind of how we got that number, $2,000. So we want the budget to be up to $2,000. Like I said, if there's like a special case that they want to do it in like two parts or something, we can talk about it, but that's like a what if scenario.
And it can be nonprofit or for profit.
Yep, as long as there's like an organization. And we prefer collaboration, which is why we have which partners are involved. So we want to know how will they use the funds, which would be, this is the budget. So include the dollar amounts that will go towards personnel, program supplies, equipment, contracted services, marketing, communications, training, and then if there's anything else. So this should be like a checklist. How much are you requesting for each of those things in your budget? We didn't really want to do like an attached form or make people email stuff because if you do an attachment on Google Forms, they have to sign in, which like prevents people. People are always like, oh, well, it tells you sign in and they're just like, I'll do it later and they never do it. So we're trying to lower the barriers as much as possible. So just have it in this form, just type it in that way. And if their personnel funds are over 25% of the funding, like if they want to use 50% of their funding to pay people, they have to justify it. We kind of want to cap it around 25%, but if there's a really good reason why they need it to be that much money, we'll allow that if they can justify it. And then we want to know how the work will be sustained beyond this investment. We're not really trying to do like a one-time thing that's never going to make a lasting change. It can be a one-time event, but we want to know how work is going to be sustained after this. And alongside that question, we want them to identify 2 potential additional funding sources for future stages of this project. So that doesn't mean 2 grants that you've already secured. It just means to continue whatever this is in the future, what are 2 potential funding sources? So they just have to, we want them to do like a little bit of research to say like, oh, I'll apply for this USDA grant or this other grant, or maybe it's a social enterprise. So I needed this funding to launch my business and now I'll have continued income based on this thing, So that's why we listed that as our last question was potential additional funding, because like I said, we're looking for sustainability. We don't just want to do something that just disappears after today, right? The longevity. Do you guys have any thoughts or feedback on this?
Are they going to have the definition of the different working groups and priorities before they fill this out?
So I have not made that yet because you guys are still doing your priorities.
Sure.
So I'll probably link it on this in this big portion, and then I'll also link it on the question.
Like right next to it. Okay.
How does your project advance the priorities of the working group? So I'll link it here. And then once you have goals, I'll add that to the page as well. But when we send it out, it'll just be priorities most likely. So that's that. Questions?
Yes. Okay, once we determine that someone wants this money, are we gonna vote on it as a group? That's
Maybe we vote for this particular grant, yes. But the future ones, like next year, I don't think so. We're gonna have we've asked USF to give us some reviewers from different organizations like Catfish and like the Research Development we asked the Research Development Institute to provide us from 3 different locations so that we have an outside view and not just the working group leaders, and so that it'll help you guys. If you're in the working group, you can apply and it's not biased,
Yeah, because I'm thinking of
if you want Penitentiary Second wants to do something, right, and that's why. So this particular grant, yes, but future ones,
okay.
So you guys determined the direction, which is the priorities and the goals, and so we want those outside reviewers to determine if the applications fit those things. I
But
think
for this year.
for this particular one,
Right.
but if you apply, we can,
Right.
Yeah, we'll do it.
I would sit out. Okay.
I think so. Yeah, that's a good question. And like I said, this would be the bucket if your working group wants to do some type of thing. You should still fill out the form so that we can have all the reasoning and not just like, we all decided we wanted to do this thing. Like, we still need like a budget. We need to know how it advances the priorities. So that's up to you guys. And if you want to spend a meeting, not the next one, but another meeting after that, working on that, which would really be July because we'll be reviewing this in August. That's up to you all, or maybe you two want to do something. However you want to communicate with the group, you can use the platform if you want to suggest something. So yeah, any other questions about this part?
When you do open it in June, it's open on the Mobilize app, or is it open anywhere else, like in the Hillsborough website, or how does that work?
It'll probably be, we'll post it on the platform for sure. Monica will probably also send it through the newsletter. So those are our two main forms of communication, is the newsletter and the platform. I would imagine it'll probably also be on our like connect.homegrownhillsborough.com, which is just like a page of links basically. I'm assuming this is a great thing. Yeah, so this is like our kind of our landing page that shows you like where to subscribe. It's pretty much all of our links. This is like our link tree. So we'll probably add something on here for like apply for this grant, but mainly it'll be newsletter. That's how it'll be getting out to people. It'll still be newsletter and the platform. Maybe we have a Facebook page. We don't really use it. So like maybe if we have nobody applying, we can maybe put it out there. But I don't imagine we'll do that. But we just haven't been utilizing it as much.
I was just curious if the people who will be applying will only be Homegrown Hillsborough members, or if they will be outside community members from.
They could be, but we would like them to be part of Homegrown Hillsborough,
Mhm.
especially if they're applying. We'd like them to start being involved in our work. So I mean, it's open to anyone, but they need to be doing work in Hillsborough County. It's like the first key thing is you have to be doing work in Hillsborough County. Maybe your farm is based in Pasco or Fernando or whatever. You have to be doing work in Hillsborough County. Maybe we should have that as a question. It's like,
Yeah.
Are you in Hillsborough?
It's just like,
Well, I'm thinking like,
Yeah, that's
someone out of
smart.
state, like found it randomly.
which it could happen. I mean, it is like an open forum, and we do have people on our platform who aren't necessarily like Hillsborough County based. That's a good question. I need to make a note of that.
Maybe you should put what zip code so it'll
Mhm.
seem less targeted.
But like, how does, I think technically, and I can understand how you wouldn't know this if you aren't like part of our stuff, but like under the fact that how does this benefit the working group,
That's true, yeah.
that should technically like apply, like it should be Hillsborough County, but maybe we should just have a checkbox that's like, my work is in Hillsborough.
Yeah.
Just as like a fail safe, like, wait a minute. I mean, when we're reviewing applications, well, we can look people up and say like, oh, why is this the Osceola like community gardens applying for something here, But it is probably a good idea to like just so that people aren't spending too much time applying for something that they definitely are not gonna get. That's a good point. Any other feedback on this? That sounds good. Those were good points. And we have about 7 minutes left. So this meeting location is not available in June, July, September, or December. So you guys need to find a new spot. Ideally, it would be the same place for those months. If you want to just start with June, July, I would recommend a library. Those are pretty easy. We can always do the extension office. We can also do the ECC, which is in Ybor, the Entrepreneur Collaborative Center. And I can check on availability for all those things. So you guys,
The Portico Cafe?
we can do Portico. That one does have a cost associated. So unless you just were like eating in their lobby. I don't know if that's cool with them or not. I
I've
think
done
it's
that
not-
before for
yeah.
a meeting.
Mhm.
That would be up to y'all if y'all wanted to do, but I just thought of it because it's a coffee shop.
Yeah.
So I was a little selfish here, but it's downtown, so I thought it would
Yeah.
be central for a lot of us too.
Okay.
There are places like Rating Berries is like a acai bowl place, and they have meeting rooms that you can reserve.
Oh, really?
Something like that. There's one in Temple Terrace, and I think there's
West Chase.
there's some other ones. Yeah,
Oh,
West
okay.
Chase. As long as it's in Hillsborough County, free is preferred. If you want to use some of your budget for that, that's kind of up to you all. But it is going to be recurrent. Like I said, I prefer if it's not just different everywhere all the time.
And this is because it has to be on first Tuesday or second Tuesday, what,
It has to be a
Second Tuesday.
second Tuesday, 12 to 2. Gotcha.
So.
May I ask I don't know if we need to do this offline, but where people are driving from so that we can find a better like meeting point? Is that something we could do offline or?
I'm from Carroll, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm in
like,
Carrollwood.
We can go ahead and end the recording because I think we've done all of our.
Yeah, I should've
big things.
Don't worry, I'll help you. I'm also, well, since it's in the middle of the day, I'm coming from here.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it doesn't matter. And if we're going more north, it
Okay.
doesn't matter.
So downtown will be really good for you.
It would, but I also live up north, so I could pass by something and then
Oh.
go home, so.